Hola a todos y bienvenidos a la edición 2021 del HolonIQ LATAM EdTech 100, donde reconoceremos a los 100 emprendimientos más prometedores de la región. Mi nombre es Juanita Botero, soy Associate de LATAM para HolonIQ desde Cali, Colombia, y para nosotros ha sido un honor llevar a cabo este proceso y conocer las increíbles iniciativas que están beneficiando y creando impacto en la educación y en la región.
Olá a todos, boa tarde, sejam todos muito bem-vindos ao HolonIQ 2021 LATAM EdTech 100. Diretamente do Rio de Janeiro, Brasil, eu sou o Thiago Paiva, VP de Educação na HolonIQ, e é uma enorme satisfação tê-los aqui conosco. Ao longo dos próximos 45 minutos, iremos mergulhar no ecossistema das EdTechs de toda a América Latina. Sejam todos bem-vindos e all welcome.
Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick Brothers, co-CEO of HolonIQ. Welcome. I'm not as clever as my colleagues, Juanita and Tiago. I'm so excited to be here with you all announcing the 2021 LATAM EdTech 100. In true HolonIQ style, we have an action-packed 45 minutes ahead of us as we announce the 100 and meet some of the amazing teams across the ecosystem as well. You'll each receive the recording straight after this session is completed. If you head to holoniq.com, you will also find a copy of the list and some of the analysis that we'll be sharing there as well. And then finally, if you head to LinkedIn, by the time this webinar is complete, the list will be announced in full as well for you to share across the ecosystem. We're going to hear from my good friend, Fernando Valenzuela, who's been with us on the journey the whole time with some insights from across the ecosystem. We'll talk a little bit about the methodology, announce the list itself. We're going to hear from 5 amazing companies as part of the 100, and they'll each share a 5-minute overview of the work that they're doing and the impact that they're having across the ecosystem. And that'll about wrap us up for 45 minutes. Before I hand over to Fernando, just to reflect on the ecosystem itself, I'm sure you've all seen the explosive growth we've seen across LATAM, all the way across Latin America and the Caribbean as well. Of course, LATAM has been one of the most significantly impacted as a consequence of COVID, and we've seen a significant learning loss. But the upside and the silver lining in that story is how education technology is finding new ways to transform the way we learn, supporting schools and universities, learners young and old across the ecosystem as well. We're nearly up to $1 billion of venture capital that's been invested since 2010 in education technology, with an enormous first half to 2020-21 that you can see there. That's a record by far, and that's just the first half. Without further ado, I'd like to turn over to my good friend, Fernando Valenzuela, who is the founding partner of the Global EdTech Alliance and leads the charge on the EdLATAM Alliance as well. Fernando, thank you so much for joining us. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the ecosystem.
Thank you, Patrick, for your trust over the years. I'm just very grateful to be here on behalf of the Latin America EdTech ecosystem, the EdLATAM Alliance, and the efforts. When I see these charts going back to when you and I met in 2010, that it's not even painted when we started
right.
this work of building an ecosystem. So I'm very happy, and now I recognize the sophisticated intelligence platform that you have created with HolonIQ. And I'm gonna just begin with some reflections as to how I see the growth and maturity. And I believe that, as this quote says, that the most important innovations are not coming from technology, but from new forms of collaboration. And I believe that the key element of collaboration that we are seeing in the region, the connectivity with institutions, the ability to learn from each other, to connect and improve particular conditions, as we hear personal stories, as we will soon hear from some of these great companies, is the way going forward. So I think, just reflecting on my own personal journey, when I saw that the convergence and the combination of pedagogy, technology, capital and impact, was a space that required some, development, that we had people that understood technology but not necessarily pedagogy, people that understood pedagogy but were having difficulties understanding technology, and then both of them understanding the capital and investment implications in the region, and finally being able to close the impact gaps and the accessibility and closing these painful processes that we see throughout the region. I think those are the key elements when you're able to balance these four forces, and that's how I became one of the top 100 voices in the region. I became very interested in developing the entrepreneurship capability in Latin America in order for us to cope with this. So that turned to be the EdLATAM Alliance, which is a collection of leaders, minds, and entrepreneurs around the region. We are all sharing important content, sharing our journeys, kind of scaling our entrepreneurial influence in education during these times of rapid change and unprecedented global opportunity. I think the collective entrepreneurial possibility, with connecting that with incumbent systems, is a key element that the Alliance is able to do. We have connected with Africa, with Australia, with Israel, with many different countries to share these best practices, exploring the education market, driving product innovation, using learning science tools and methods, and all in a collective environment that integrates companies from all over the world. EDT Partners, which is one of the leading consulting firms that is also very active developing the region. Of course, HolonIQ, IDB, all of the accelerators, GESA awards also as part, the Victoria government, all of these institutions connecting with the leaders in the education segment, ex-ministers of education, heads of schools, universities, investors, and entrepreneurs that are collectively building this ecosystem. I think that is the critical element. So I will close with one kind of complex reflection that has to do with the methodology that we developed in terms of returns. We see the return on education no longer being only return on learning and return on investment. We have to think about different assets, think about the return on time, the return on information, the return on trust, and the return on impact. These assets came forward in the region, and I see very proudly how the ecosystem has matured, how partnering with organizations like HolonIQ and all of the others that I mentioned are beginning to build Latin America as part of the map. As we go to the events, we were recently in San Diego, we are in London and some of these places. Latin America has been less represented in the region, and now we see a very active and thrilling ecosystem. So I'm proud to be part of this, proud of the opportunity to be in this event and sharing with my friends from EduFocal, from Cima Robot, Rehana, Descomplica, Programa Valentina, all of these and many others that are going to be part of the top 100. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fernando. Wonderful to hear your insights, and always inspiring to see just how much you're doing and leading across the ecosystem. We really value your partnership and friendship and guidance across what is a super exciting part of the world. So really quickly, let's move into the LATAM EdTech 100. Before we do, let's talk about eligibility and where the list is focused. Typically, the companies are less than 10 years old. The list is focused on identifying young, fast-growing, and innovative startups. There are some circumstances where they are older than 10 years, but not that many circumstances at all. From a geographic perspective, of course, they're headquartered in Latin America and the Caribbean. And where they're not, they're predominantly focused. And that means more than 80% focused on the region exclusively. They're pre-exit, they are startups. They're not acquired, they're not yet listed, they're not a subsidiary of a larger company or controlled by an investor group. They're startups in nature. And from a scope perspective, and I think this is an important point that Fernando raised, is technology doesn't just mean software. This is all forms of innovation. And also, as you'll see through some of the teams that we're talking to, from a job tech and HR tech perspective, we see the lines blur between human capital in an education context and in a work context. So the standard exclusions are listed companies, private equity sponsored, and subsidiaries are not eligible, nor are mature incumbents, those organizations that have been making impact for more than 10 years and are all grown up now as well. The focus of the LATAM EdTech 100 is identifying young, fast-growing and innovative teams across the region. From a methodology perspective, there are really 5 elements as part of HolonIQ's startup rubric that we look at and in detail score. They are the market, so the quality and relative attractiveness of the specific market that this team is operating in, their product, its quality, its uniqueness, demonstrated impact, the team, its expertise, its connectivity, and most importantly, diversity. Capital, and by that we don't just mean raising capital, we mean that the team is able to secure sufficient financial resources in order to fund its operations and its growth and sustainably. And then finally, momentum, that we see positive changes in the size, velocity, and the impact of this team over time. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to my colleagues to announce this year's LATAM EdTech 100. Over to you, Tiago. I think Juanita's having some connectivity challenges.
So congratulations to this are the list for the 2021 LATAM EdTech 100. And for this cohort, we have split the 100 startups and 8 different subsectors based on HolonIQ's definitions. As we can see, most of the selected companies are focusing on development skills to the workforce, ranging from specific niche skills to soft skills and lifelong learning. On management systems is the next primary subsector, where the companies are focusing on optimized process and communications across many different institutions and organizations. On STEAM and online learning, we are driving attention as the digital solutions are becoming even more popular in the last year. And we can see the companies focusing on linkage learning, digital content, tutoring, testing, and advanced tech to drive better outcomes in their learning process all across ages.
I'm going to leave this up here for another 30 seconds and then we'll dive in, have a look at a little bit of analysis of this year's 100, and then most excitingly, certainly for me, is then we'll hear from 5 of these teams and some of the work that they're doing. Congratulations to everybody on this list. I must say before we move on, perhaps the hardest part is actually getting down to 100 companies. The magnificent part about LATAM is there are hundreds of EdTech startups to choose from who are creating incredible impact. And so for those who didn't make this year's list, keep going, keep working. You're doing incredible work. It's very important that Latin America has a broad, strong, diverse group of EdTech startups who are working from early childhood all the way to upskilling. You're doing an amazing job and made it an incredibly difficult process to get to these 100 teams. Let's have a quick look at some of the analysis compared to last year. So from a sector perspective, we see some representation in pre-K, very important. A lot of startups in K-12. Higher education has a significant slice, but workforce makes up nearly 50% from a sector perspective, and that's everything after formal higher education. Massive representation. You can see there on the right-hand side just how big that change has been. Some of that is because we've seen a number of acquisitions in K-12 as well, and those teams have come out of the list as they've been acquired and become part of bigger organizations across the ecosystem. Tiago talked a little bit about the subsectors. Again, from a subsector perspective, of course, workforce is very significant. Management systems is the next largest component, but we see very large representation in this 100 from STEAM, that's science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, online learning, of course, tutoring and test prep, and you can see the spread there. And on the right-hand side, you can see some movement, not as much across the subsectors compared to the 2020 cohort. From a country perspective, Brazil makes up over 1/3 of the representation, which in some respects is what we see across many other indicators. Mexico, very strong representation, but really strong diversity. ROL is rest of LATAM, which just doesn't give justice to the teams that we see across the Caribbean and, of course, across the whole of Latin America. And on the right-hand side, you can see the change there from the geographic representation of the LATAM EdTech 100 as well. So exciting to see innovation right across the region. Which brings us to, as I said, the best part of our session here, and that is hearing from 5 teams who are leading innovation in education. We're going to hear a 5-minute overview from founders, CEOs, leaders from each of these teams, and they will share their insights about what's happening in their organization and the impact that they're having as well. We're going to start, and it's a pleasure to introduce Katia Serwin from Programa Valentina. Katia, please share the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Patrick. Of course, it's an honor. So, Programa Valentina, we are Guatemalan-based, women-led, women-focused, high-impact talent platform solving unemployment for at-risk populations. We are transforming the HR industry. We are using data and analytics to help switch recruiters' hiring decision from experience to potential, because youth today doesn't have that much experience and recruiters are looking for entry-level jobs with 10 years experience. So the perception of that is a little crazy. So we are transforming the HR industry, and we have 2 solutions. On the talent side, we are training and certifying basic tech skills and soft skills, and then placing youth in jobs based on their potential. And on the corporate side, we are training and certifying. We are providing a corporate coaching for employees to help minimize technology gaps, to help maximize productivity, and to help minimize turnover rates. So we're also helping to solve unemployment so people don't lose their jobs. A little bit of how our model works, and we have the admissions process, the training and certification, and then comes the placement. And our main differentiator is our business model, in which we call it the pay it forward. Since we're dealing with at-risk youth, it is 0 risk for them to participate in the trainings, but once they are placed in a formal job, then they do a fee. They provide a fee to Programa Valentina so they can continue helping other Valentinas and Valentinos go through the process and get opportunities to be in the formal economy. We use data, like I mentioned, and we provide an X-ray of the potential of a candidate, of a Valentina, so recruiters can hire based on the potential, what they're good at, and not just a resume. And the in-company certifications are designed for the needs of a company, and they are from our modules, and we want to maximize the potential that they already have so they can grow as a company and hire more people. And they hire Valentinos with all feeds, and it's from the beginning as candidates up until they're within a company and they can grow within the companies. The impact we've generated so far, we are women focused. So 55% of the participants are female, which is a huge, huge accomplishment, since a lot of women, especially in Guatemala and the rest of Latin, they participate mostly in the informal economy. So bringing them into the formal economy is a huge endeavor. We've seen that 75% of our participants stay on the job, so the permanence is really important. Once they've been on a job for at least 6 months, they're likely to be on the job for 1 year. And if they have been on a job for 1 year, we bet that they will stay on formal job for the rest of their lives. Our big, hairy, audacious goal or mission is that by 2020, we will impact the life of 1 million at-risk youth in Latin America. So we're coming for the rest of LATAM, and thank you very much.
I think, Katia, the rest of LATAM would be lucky to have you coming for them. It sounds like you're having a really fantastic impact. Just on that topic, I mean, what's the biggest challenge for you as a team as you think about expanding to focus on the rest of LATAM?
As we're focusing on expanding to the rest of LATAM, is understanding how companies work within each company. I mean, it's very similar, but there's nuances that we need to learn in each country to understand how hiring works, what's the legal procurement of hiring people, the benefits, making sure it's formal jobs. And at the end of the day, we are transforming the process of hiring someone. So that's the biggest challenge for every company, every recruiter, to understand potential and how we certify the potential of someone and to give them a chance. So it's changing the mindset from experience for entry-level jobs to be used for potential.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right,
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Katia. That's fascinating, wonderful impact, wonderful to see a women-led focused initiative really growing, and best of luck with your expansion across the rest of Latin America. Thanks for joining us today, and congratulations for being part of the LATAM EdTech 100.
We became all Valentinos, Patrick.
Absolutely. All right, thank you so much, Katia.
Cool. So now I have the privilege to introduce our next guest, Gordon Suavi, CEO and co-founder of EduFocal from Jamaica, to share more about the company.
All right, Gordon's getting set. Here he goes. Perfect.
Thank you for the introduction, Juanita. Hi to the HolonIQ team. Thank you for selecting us for the award. And of course, I'm Gordon Suavi, CEO of EduFocal Limited. So EduFocal started in March 2012, primarily as a test prep service. And for the first few years, we focused on that and we did very well at it. But in 2020, COVID-19 came along. And while we always had aspirations of expanding into tutoring, the environment at the time did not facilitate this. Poor internet connectivity in the country and the rest of the Caribbean, the timing was just not right. So instead of just looking at the problem and lamenting and folding our arms, we asked ourselves internally, with our team of almost 50 people, we asked ourselves, how can we, in this time of crisis, help Jamaica and Jamaicans to move forward with education in the country? Now, in a more general way, you can only scale education in Jamaica, the rest of the Caribbean, and frankly, in the rest of the world, by using technology. We will never train teachers fast enough. We will never have enough capital. The governments of the world would not have capital fast enough to really have the rate of growth that we want to educate the students at the rate that we want to educate them. When you think about the 21st century and the fourth industrial revolution, things are changing at such a rapid pace that there is no way to move forward without public-private partnerships. So it's important that the private sector and government work together to move education forward. So EduFocal, I believe, is uniquely positioned to help Jamaica and soon the rest of the Caribbean educate our students at the rate that we need to really move the GDP of our countries and the collective intelligence of the workforce forward. So really that is our mission in a broad way. Now, taking it back a bit and thinking about our genesis, which is test prep. We use a concept called gamification, and we started implementing gamification in our platform when really nobody was talking about gamification at the time, certainly not in the Caribbean in 2012. So we've always been forerunners in leveraging technology in a positive way. Students use their service and they were particularly excited about what we call our leaderboard. So students would challenge each other for the #1 spot on the Edufocal platform, and they would win prizes. They would win actual money from Edufocal that they used as a bursary to help them to, use in the school that they'd be matriculating into. In 2020, we started tutoring, and in the height of COVID-19, in a single month, we taught close to 100,000 children on the Edufocal platform, with the support of the Jamaican government and other private sector companies in Jamaica. I mean, it was a massive undertaking for us. We had to build out features to facilitate this, but that's something that we've done that we're really, really, really proud of. In thinking about our future, of course, I mentioned test prep before and gamification and how that has been impactful for us. 90% of the students in our top cohort passed for their first school of choice. They got amazing results, and that's something that we're really looking forward to build on. Corporate training and corporate learning obviously is a big part of our future, because we don't think of education in just matriculating to the next level, kind of way. We think about education in broad terms, because employees in organizations have to be trained. They need continuous education and training. That is extremely important. We don't see the future as just going to a university and getting a degree. At the rate of growth that we're having in the world, again, in terms of educating our people, we believe that micro-certifications are going to play a key part in our future. And again, we are positioning ourselves to benefit from that and play a key part in that. And of course, you have to also think about education in a practical way. Education is important because people want to earn, right? People want to upskill themselves for a job that they're currently in or for a job that they want to get to. We want to act as the middleman to really point talent in the direction that would be beneficial to both them and their potential employer. So, of course, it's a big vision. But we're a young team, we're a set of experienced people, and we're really ready to take on this challenge and transform how we think about education in the 21st century and within the context of the 4th Industrial Revolution. Thank you very much for selecting us as one of the companies in Latin America, one of the top companies in EdTech in Latin America, and we're really looking forward to playing a big role in the region moving forward.
Thank you, Gordon, for sharing a little bit about the amazing work you're doing. And it's really, truly great to see how we can leverage technology to improve education all across the region of the Caribbean. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
And now, leaving the Caribbean and going to the Andes, I would like to introduce Virginia Diaz, co-founding director of CIMA Robot from Chile.
Thank you, Tiago. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to be part of this community of EdTech entrepreneurs. My name is Virginia Diaz. I'm co-founder and educational director of CIMA Robot. Next, please. Next. CIMA, previous. Thank you. CIMA is the first educative social robot in LATAM and the most accessible in the world. Social robots are thus designed to interact directly with humans, capable of communicating verbally or non-verbally, and that are especially useful to accompany and assist us. Next, please. They are an ideal resource to work with children because they increase motivation, promote the development of language and social emotional skills. We create CIMA because there were no educational tools designed for young children or children with SENS, special educational needs, that interact connecting the student with their teachers. In other words, LMS platforms work very well for older students who are autonomous, but not so with younger students who require more mediation in their learning processes. Children learn and achieve part of their cognitive development through mediation and social interaction. This is explained by Vygotsky and constructivists since the beginning of the 20th century, and more recently reaffirmed by neuroscience. And CIMA is a social robot that works as a learning partner, interacting by voice, gesture, and movement, giving simple instructions, motivational message, and waiting times, like a tutor, mediating off the screen activities on notebooks, books, craft, even easy experiments. Next, please. This is possible. Please, next. This is possible thanks to the fact that CIMA is powered by artificial intelligence and is integrated with CIMA Knowledge, a content management platform in which teachers can select or create learning experiences for their students to carry out together with CIMA. And today, next please, today CIMA is an extraordinary tool used by thousands of children in LATAM in all types of schools, from private schools, special schools, and rural schools, empowering teachers in the use of technology and in the way they mediate the education activities with children, having the ability to customize the resource in the simple way. The better illustrate work we have been developing, I'm going to share 3 experiences today. The first experience is in Colombia, en el Comité de Rehabilitación de Antioquia, where we work together with a team of psychologists, speech therapists, and occupational therapists who use CIMA as a telerehabilitation tool as an alternative to face-to-face therapies with children from 4 years old to young people of 24 years old who present different diagnoses. The second experience is here in Chile, in San Jose del Maipo, out of Santiago de Chile City, with semi-rural schools with little connectivity or any connectivity, where preschool students who had not been able to continue their education during the first months of the pandemic. And the last experience that I was to share with you is about Colegio Andrés Bello de Chiguayante in the south of Chile, that since 2018 they use CIMA as a tool to motivation reading and reading comprehension assessment with elementary education students who are preparing for tests. These 3 examples serve to illustrate the impact we are generating with all people who are linked around the youngest students and with special educational needs. Thank you very much for inviting us and making us part of this initiative. Thank you again.
Thank you, Virginia. Thank you so much for sharing this great story. Up to you, Juanita.
Thanks, Thiago. So now from Peru, our next guest is Rodolfo Dañino, co-founder and COO of Creana, who will share more about the great work they're doing.
Great, thanks, Thiago, and the whole HolonIQ team for the invitation. So a little bit about us, Creana. So just to put some context, and it's really interesting to hear all the different solutions in the EdTech LATAM industry. It really has grown a lot since we started back in 2013. What are we doing in Creana right now? I'm gonna move forward. Right there. Just to put some context, just 1 month ago, we raised the biggest Series B for an EdTech in LATAM with General Atlantic. So that's a big and huge milestone for us. We're gonna still keep growing in a fast pace, and happy to and also proud of being this important in the industry in LATAM. So I'm gonna talk a little bit briefly about our Creana for Business product. Okay, so we define ourselves as the largest people development ecosystem in LATAM. Basically, what we do is we help companies to develop their employees. We have a very particular methodology where we focus on developing people through content. We work with them so they can apply what they learn with our product, and within our platform, we have a section of specialists and mentors that help real-time these employees to develop their skills. And we are also really focused on measuring both the student and the company's progress and the return over investment in education they do. And I'm going to talk a little further of this in the next slides. Just before that, our main value prop to land new customers and work with different types of companies in all LATAM of all sizes is our catalog. We develop internally 100% in-house all of our content, and we focus on really high quality pre-recorded content. We go from a variety from leadership up to wellness content. Here you can see some of our main categories, and we have more than 700 courses. I don't know, it started rolling to that, right?
Hang on, let me help you, Rodolfo.
Okay, so as I was saying, one of our main value props is content. So we have a huge catalog produced internally with top-notch LATAM practitioners that are working in the biggest companies from the world. So they can teach what they do in their day-to-day business. Now going into our methodology, I'm going to talk just about three parts of our methodology and how employees can learn with Creana. The first one is project-based learning. We started back in 2013 with this concept and still keep it. And it's a 70-20-10 methodology. So we believe that it's not only about an employee or a student in watching a course at their own time, but applying what they learn. So we believe in that 70% of their time must be invested in creating a project that it's like the guidelines are rolled out in the course. Then 20% of their time through mentors, and only 10% watching the pre-recorded course. So we believe in this way, and we also have the Skill XP. That there are some companies doing this in the world. In our case, I guess we're one of the few doing this in LATAM. That is helping companies to do skill assessments in their employees. So with this tool in our platform, they can handle a quiz to their employees, and for example, if it's a quiz about sales, this will give you like, okay, you're good in 1 to 3 skills, but you have an opportunity in those 2. So out of our 700 courses, you should take this one and this one. So it's much more into personalized education. It's also funny because after having the courses, students do a second Skill XP, and they can see the progress of how much their skills have increased. And at last, as I said before, we focused on measuring this really precisely, and we help both the students and also the B2B admins or the HR managers that are managing their employees to see exactly everything of learning hours, completed projects, certified courses, active users, completion rates, and much more information about the usage. And to finish, some impact of what are we doing so far. We have had more than 5 million students learning with our platform. Out of every student, 83% says that they can apply in the few weeks after completing the courses what they learn. So this demonstrates and validates that there's a real applicability in our content, and almost 80% states that their life quality improved with professional and personal development after using Creana. That's less than 5 minutes about Creana, so I hope you enjoy it, and I hope also you hear more about us in the future. Thanks again to the HolonIQ team.
Thank you, Rodolfo, for sharing all of the innovative solutions that Creana is bringing to learners and to the Latin American market. Over to you, Thiago.
Now, for our last presentation, I would like to call on the stage from Brazil, Rafael Cunha, the Chief Learning Officer of Descomplica. Rafael, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Thiago. Hello, everybody. My name is Rafael Cunha. I'm the current CLO of Descomplica, Chief Learning Officer. As an EdTech We have a learning C-level. And I'm here to introduce you a little bit about our company and, as the slide says, the next generation online university. First of all, I will read this and explain a few things for you. Descomplica is the first digital education brand in Brazil and the country's first 100% digital university. I would like to emphasize that we are not online education. We are digital, because you can have traditional pedagogy and put it online, but we do it not in a traditional way. We do it in a digital way. We have a digital pedagogy that we believe in, and for the past years, we were able to master this pedagogy. How do we do that? We do this with this cycle: pedagogy proprietary, content production, product development, customer acquisition, branded and customer experience, measurable outcomes. But the most important thing is in the small letters over on the upper level that says, we leverage technology, branding, high quality production, and entertainment to shape our students' entire educational outlook. We deliver high quality education with a lot of entertainment, and that's why we make the education so cool. It's not easy. It's not just one step. We've been doing this for the past 10 years in a whole process of making education and learning paths cool, very nice to our students, to the new generation of students. How do we do this? With one brand. We take the students by their hands when they are something 15 years old, when they enter the high school, and we have this complicated name with the university entrance exams. Then we take them by their hands in the college with undergrad courses. And once they enter the market, we stay with them when they are a little bit older, and we offer them post-grad courses, always with extremely affordable prices. We are looking at young students, low-income population. At Descomplica, we say that learning is for everybody. Aprender é para todo mundo, Thiago understands. And learning is for everybody. And as you can see in the chart below, 87% of our students have a monthly family income lower than 6,000 reais, or something like close to $1,000. In Brazil, I don't know if everybody knows that, but in Brazil, if you want a high quality education, you have to pay a lot for this. And with Descomplica, we are able to offer them really high quality education. I'm myself a teacher. I teach Portuguese language and essay composition too. That's why my Portuguese is much better than my English, I promise. I'm much better Portuguese teaching than everything else. But with $5, a low-income student can access high-quality education content with Descomplica, and we leverage their chances to enter a public university in Brazil. And these are a few performance numbers. Our average grades per subject, our students were able to score up 31% higher than non-Descomplica students. Our biggest case is essay composition. That's why I told you I'm an essay composition too, because I wanted the congrats about this. But we are doing we are making people to change their lives. We are giving people chances, low-income people chances to have a better life for themselves and for their families. And we started this with the university entrance exams. And nowadays, we understand that the biggest second cycle is going to be the Descomplica University. Undergrad with extremely affordable prices for everybody that wants to learn. And digital is the way. Thank you, HolonIQ, for the awards, and hope you all enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rafael. Thank you for sharing the innovation case of Descomplica with all of us. Patrick?
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Rafael. All right, we believe it or not, we are out of time. We promised you 45 minutes of action-packed LATAM EdTech, and I feel like I got it as well. Look, I want to really quickly ask each of you, Juanita, Tiago, Fernando, for a quick kind of reflection, having heard from 5 of the teams. What kind of struck you in the last 20 minutes?
Well, it's just amazing to see, Patrick, such a amazing stories, such amazing companies that they are providing and helping to transform education from all across the region. The great effort that those 100 ones here selected, and also the other ones that were not able to be here, in order to empower people to have education. So this is just amazing to see how the effort of all those companies.
I just
Juanita?
think I just think it's truly great to see like the impact on education from a global perspective, but also looking at the regional level and like being so close to LATAM. Of course, I think that's something I hold really close and think it's really valuable. So I would just love to congratulate all of the EdTech companies for the amazing job they're doing in the region, and I can't truly wait to continue seeing all of this impact.
Awesome. Fernando?
Yeah, so I would add that I think that you can see here clearly that education is a global endeavor, that we all share the same impact, the same concerns, and also that talent and entrepreneurship can come from anywhere. So I am very glad to see the Caribbean being represented. I'm very glad to see Colombia, Chile, Peru, Mexico, Brazil, and I think more and more we should exchange best practices and keep connected. So thank you. I'm very proud of this work.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We've had hundreds of people from across LATAM and around the world, and many will be waking up to their inboxes with the recording. You'll receive it yourself straight after this session. We've just announced the list at HolonIQ.com and on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So check that out and spread the amazing work that these teams are doing. Massive kudos to the hundreds of teams who are not represented on this list as well, who, as each of us said, are doing an incredible job. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Congratulations to these teams. We look forward to seeing the incredible growth of innovation in learning across Latin America. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.